Let's look at the comments really quick. First thing, let's say, sorry. It's okay. Okay, it's a sense of security and safety, because they're actually a little bit this here. As you notice, it's a triangle. This triangle actually leads our eyes to the logo, which is Mercedes logo. They also had contrast that we're going to talk about in this session as well. But as you can see, the main element here is the triangle. Yes, they have squares inside the image, but they don't have much strong effect. I'm not saying they put squares for a reason, because actually it's the car, right? That's how it looks like. But we're talking about the effects, not the intentions of the design. Of course, the squares have an strong can you please mute my mic?
مختلفة لكن تقرر لنا لأنه ماشي إن شاء الله.
It will be appreciated if you did, Mr. Faisal. That if you can hear me at all. Anyway, let's continue. Okay, for the comment. Yes, exactly. Focus on the brand level. You got it. So this one here. Okay. Actually, what I wanted you to focus on this design is not actually the car itself, or even the shape of they put the text in. I wanted you to have a look at this, at the background. If you notice, it wasn't divided as squares as it was in the previous example for the loan company. This is a triangle. So there is energy in the image. They also used red. Red is also a sign for energy that you're going to learn today. So that's the main effect, actually. Yes, there are many effects, other effects, but what dominates is the main one, which occupies most of the image. As you can see here.
هذا شركة هذه سعيدة نعم معهم. هذا نفتح له.
Hello, Mr. Faisal.
مرحبا.
Okay, great. Now we can focus on the session. Triangle, square. Actually, I'm lost here, but the shapes of a square. Actually, it's not a shape of a square. Yeah. But give us energy feel is the background. Here are the circles. Circles actually here give harmony. They merge two scenes into one scene at the same time. What if they used triangles or rectangles instead? Let's see. Well, actually, it's possible to use them, but the most preferred and suitable objects or elements to use here, or shapes, are squares, because squares are easy to harmonize together, or you can create harmony in them easily, or flow. Otherwise, I mean, you cannot create harmony in triangles and rectangles easily. And also, they want us to focus in here, which is the focal point, as you can see. Like, and narrowing it down. Yeah, I'm sorry, I couldn't mute them. Can the host please mute everybody? Because I'm not the host, so I cannot be. Okay, let's continue. Actually, the host is already recording, so no worries on that. So on this one here, yep, the boulders actually have some sense of lines in them, triangles, squares. But the main object I wanted you to focus on here is this actually. Yeah, see? If you put a rectangular here, it's gonna look heavy and dull. Sorry, if you put a square. If you put a rectangular, I mean, if you fit this image or this design into a rectangular, let's see. Maybe it will have like more tension than it should. It was like this. So the best option here, as it was on the previous poster, is to have a circle. That's in general, I mean. Yeah, here is actually, of course, it's so obvious. They have rectangles. There's tension, there's energy in it, more than what we'd have if you placed circles or squares here. And here is the same thing. We used circles, or there are circles actually for harmony, connection. So you can see they're connecting together. There's flow. They're going. You feel like there's motion in it. See? So the circle also have motion in a way. They're curved around. If it was a rectangle, sorry, a square, this motion would be killed. I mean, because of the corners. That's in general. Okay, I'll look quickly. So here we are, as we mentioned. Yeah, here you should have focused on the rectangle instead. As we discussed, yeah, that's great. You noticed that there's a triangle in the background. Okay, so guys, most of you got the picture. I hope you can relate. Okay, you got the picture clearly. Oh yeah, here, true. You're saying if it uses 4 pieces of triangles to represent the incomplete human female face. Well, yeah, I mean, it could have many interpretations. But what we're looking for here is actually the effect itself, not the reason behind or the intention of the designer, because we can interpret that in many different ways. What we're looking for is actually the effect of the shapes that we have. What effect do they convey? Is it possible for us to change the shape and have a better effect? Or we can kill the effect completely? What's the best option? That's actually our goal, to know the effect. So we know the psychology behind the shapes and how they affect people, then we can use them in our designs. Okay, let's look at this. Guys, if you have any question, you can ask freely about, the assignment. Okay, good. That's a lot to read, but as I can see from your outline, you got these queries, or matters. Okay, guys, if there's time, I'll give you feedback on your text if it's long later on. Never mind. So, guys, let's just talk about today's class. Before we go into it, I want to ask you, have you heard of the word? Can you see the whiteboard? Okay, it looks like there's an issue. I'll disconnect and come back in a while. Okay, can you see the screen now? Can you see the whiteboard? Okay, good. So, what do you know about this word, contrast? What is contrast? Any ideas? Have you heard this word before or came across it?
Yes, yes. Like black and white is a contrast color.
Okay, something like this. That's true. So does contrast come in any other form other than black and white? Or is it only about black and white?
Red and green color.
Red and green. Okay, we'll come to that. We'll come about the colors and the contrast in them. But other than colors and like, yeah, colors in general, you can have contrast in shapes as well, right? There's a contrast between the triangle and the circle. Yep, contrast is putting two completely different things in relation to each other. Exactly. So these things, I mean, could be shapes, could be colors, could be even emotions, could be feelings, happy and sad. So we have happy and sad. There's contrast in that. Big and small. There's actually a very good symbol, a Chinese symbol, or something like this. It's called Yin and Yang. It's actually really good. It represents contrast and harmony at the same time. As I read in my book, they say like everybody has good and right in him. He has evil and bad. In the bad we have good, and in the good we have evil. So there's contrast and harmony at the same time. If it's unrelated things, just difference. Contrast is more like, yeah, exactly. It's like polar opposites. Yep, that's an accurate definition. So once we defined contrast, we can jump right into the session of today. Okay, can you see the PDF file? Can you see the slides? Okay, good. actually a bunch of examples for you here to see. So let's take contrast in shapes first. Oh, before we just look at the examples, why are we talking about contrast? Why is it important in visual literacy? We as humans, we look for contrast in everything. We look for contrast in contrast. So we can use this principle to guide the eyes of the viewer in our images or designs. You can see, for example, here, if you just isolate yourself, first example, let's number them.
Mute-nya live 7 kali ya. Kalau mute bodoh sekarang sampai dia bisa
Guys,
live.
can you please mute your mics if you can hear me?
Kalau mute polling dia minta jam. Momet, by the way, orang build barang gini, Momet buat benda bodoh gitu, it stays with you. Every single second Momet sekarang nih is your building block. Whatever. Benda tuh literally.
Mr. Amir, can you please mute your mic? Can you hear me? Okay, good. Okay, thanks. Okay. So if you isolate yourself onto the first example alone itself, look at this example. You see like a bunch of squares and only one circle. I bet that your eyes went to the circle first, and you paid more attention to the circle at the beginning, then you started wandering around the image and look for different shapes other than the circle. If you go to the second image, or the second example, of course you would look at the triangle first, look at it for a while, then start looking at the different elements. So if you can use this principle wisely, you can catch the eyes of the viewer into something that you want him to look at first, and you want him to pay attention to. Let's say, for example, you're writing for a newsletter or writing in a blog. You can design your elements in a way that can catch the eyes of the viewer. If the viewer looked at your page or your blog, he would continue reading if he liked it. But if he even couldn't look at it from the beginning, you didn't catch his attention, he wouldn't know if he liked it or not because he's not going to read. That's the idea. Look at this example here, the one at the bottom on the left. A bunch of triangles and one square. There's also a plus in this one, since as you see, the triangles, since as you can see, the triangles are pointing to the square. So it's like we're using contrast here and also the shape language we learned. See, all of the elements are pointing. Same goes to the last example here for shapes. This shape is organic, the rest are edgy and geometric. So it stands out. Okay. Let's look for contrast in lines, in lines. If you look at this one, if you zoom in and you isolate yourself only to this example, you would look at this angle. It's different. The rest are only straight lines. Same goes here. Okay, I'm back. Can you see the file now? Can you see the slide?
Yes, we can see.
Yeah, sorry, I got disconnected. It's lagging. Apparently, there's an issue here. Let me just get back to you. Okay, I hope it's clear now. Is it? You know? If you can see the slides. Yeah, okay, good. So let's get back to it. So here we have a straight line and wavy zigzaggy lines. So the straight line, of course, pops out. Same goes here. Some swirls that are unorganized in a way, and we have some uniform zigzag line in the middle. It stands out. However, in this example, yes, the C curve that's inverted stands out, but not as much as the others do. It's because the contrast here. Can you hear me, guys? If you do, please say yes.
Yes.
Okay, good.
Yes.
So the C actually is inverted. There is contrast, but the contrast is weak. The scale of the contrast is actually not strong. That's why you may struggle a bit to find the contrast in the last piece. So you have also to know that contrast is also has also a level. Could be high, could be low. You need to watch out for that. Okay, let's look at contrast in values. You might ask me what are values. Don't worry, we'll talk about that in a while. But you can think about it right now as black and white, or like light and dark, something like that. So let's focus on this example on the left. Don't look at the example on the right. You would see that first you look at the big circle that's in white. After you look at it for a while, then you start wandering around the image and you discover that there are two others and one that's gray. Same goes here for this example on the right. What pops to your eyes and what grabs your attention the most is the circle that's in black and it's big. Then after you look at it for a while, you start wandering around and you notice that there's also a gray circle that is considerably smaller than the bigger one, or than the biggest one actually. Okay, these are like a variety of contrast where one is dominant, which are the big circles in the first and the second examples. They are dominant. They have the highest amount of contrast, while the gray circle doesn't have like much contrast. Let's look at the image below. I mean the last example, the third one. You might find it actually a bit confusing because the contrast is somehow, not necessarily, but somehow evenly like divided. Nothing is really dominant, or somehow the white circle is a bit dominant, but secondly, nothing is dominant. Everyone is fighting for attention. Every element is fighting for attention. So yeah, a tip. the color that's put into your image. So if you look at the like blue, very light blue strokes that are rectangles, actually they are the same blue, but like the amount's different. I didn't put much blue. Here I put like the whole amount, 100%. Saturation is here 100%. So there's also a contrast and saturation. We'll understand this by examples, don't worry. We'll come back to it later. Same goes here. If you notice, actually, all of the colors here are red. You know, in the colors and designing, we have like red, blue, green. Then we have yellow, purple, cyan. These colors. We don't have brown. It's only like a blend of colors. We're gonna talk about that, but it's called saturation for now. Okay, let's talk about it now. So this is the wheel. Of course, you are familiar with it. It's on most of designing apps. So here at the let's look at it as the outer circle and the inner circle. The outer circle that's surrounding the inner circle, which has number 3, as you can see here, holds the hue. So we can think of it as like this. So we can like color is divided into
Hot and cool.
value, also saturation, and hue. So the hue is actually the pure color. As you can see here, we have yellow, orange, red, purple, blue, cyan, green, greenish yellow, something like that. So that's the hue. Once you slide the hue or you change the hue, you're gonna have different inner circle, which has the saturation and value. So this is the scale of value. This is light, and this is dark, as you can see, right? And here we have, as you can see here, at this place, the blue is so saturated. Like the amount is like about to be 100%. It's so saturated. And here is so unsaturated. It's like it's about to faint to gray. It's almost gray, which is a loss of color. That's by saturation, the amount of color putting into the element or to the stroke. So when we think about color is actually not one thing to choose. It's actually a choice of 3 elements mashed together. We're gonna look at that, the examples. Okay. Okay, let's move to the example section. May the host please mute everyone. Mr. Stephen, can you please mute your mic? Okay, guys, can you see my screen? Okay, great. Okay, now we're gonna look at these sliders and their effect. Okay, we have a color wheel here. Let me just put this to gray. So first I'm gonna choose a color. Can you choose one color? It's up to you. Choose any color. I'll go with the first one. Anybody want to choose? Okay, green. Okay. So we go with the green. So for you to understand, I'm gonna make the green constant here. I'm not gonna change the green now. I'm not gonna play with the hue at all. I'm gonna make the green constant here at this place. I'm not gonna change the hue. So I'm gonna play around with the saturation, and the value. So I'll start making the value constant and play with the saturation. So it will be here in the middle. The value is in the middle. So let's have a really unsaturated color. So it's green. Remember, it's green. I didn't change anything. So we slide it a bit. We put more. We have the same value. Put more color. You see the difference? The amount of darkness and light in this stroke is actually the same. None is lighter or darker. It's only the amount of the color. Okay, now let's make the value. Let's make the. Can you hear me? Hello?
Yes, we
Okay,
can hear
good.
you.
Okay, good. So now we're gonna change to the value itself. We're gonna choose one saturation level for this side and each side. So for this side, the saturation level is here. See? We're gonna change the value. Same thing goes here. I'm gonna change the value. You can start to notice the difference. Like we've got many different colors from just one hue. There are millions actually of colors. If you don't have a plan to choose colors, you're gonna be lost. You should focus on the slider on the color wheel. Saturation is constant. I'm changing the value. You see, if you look at this image, caught your attention, or what's caught your attention the most is actually this circle, isn't it? This circle, right? Is the one that caught your attention. Because actually it's the highest in contrast. We have the highest value for this one. See, the highest value and the highest saturation at the same time. And we have a contrast on the other side on this level here, as you can see. So if you want to check your values, if you have Photoshop, you can do this trick. You can just open another slide, color everything in black, and change the blending mode or the layer style into saturation. See here, we can see that they have the same value. Okay, check this color wheel. They have the same value, almost the same value. The value is constant. But if I take this off, see, it's a different color. So sometimes we get tricked. Sometimes we design something. So, okay, let's have a different color. Let me show you another example. Okay, we have this color, which is red. And I'm putting this object here. Okay. And let me put, this is slightly different here. Which one pop up the most? Of course, the one on the right. Because if you look here, if I change to the value, they almost have the same value. Okay, let me. You know, I'll make it the same value, exactly the same value. Okay, see? If I turn the value on, somehow this circle here has the same, almost the same color as the background. This actually has this, does it actually have the same value? So we need to watch out for that. We don't want to have the same value, otherwise it's going to be dull. Look at your design, how it's going to be. It looks muddy and dead. Nobody's going to look here. People want to look here. Or even better, if you have like a really strong saturation, people would definitely look here, wouldn't they? That's how you can guide the eyes of the viewer with the power of contrast. Do you have any question until now about contrast or colors or saturation? No questions?
The color value can either any numbering can show the color value.
For the color value.
Yeah, well, like last time I remember the color code. If 2550255, is it a numbers for the code? Is it called a color value?
Oh, you mean the numbers here? Okay, let's open the numbers.
Yeah.
You mean each like these codes, right? The hexadecimal codes.
Yes.
Well, actually, these are a combination because it's not linear like that, because the value is not actually, I'm dividing it like this for you guys to make it easy to understand, but it's not actually like each color is for different value. Like this whole section has different value and different, let's say for example, I'm choosing, okay, see, we have value here. You see the slider? This is actually value. The B slider is actually for value. So I'm having the same color, and this number is 30 something. If I slide it here, if I change the slider value, yep, that's also another name of it. The RGB is actually the red, green, and blue. The main colors, red, green, and blue. When you blend them, you have like purple, cyan, and yellow. But inside these colors, we also have light, we have tone, we have shadow. So I'm breaking it down for you guys into three aspects, like value, saturation, and contrast. Let me show you. This is in a slider here. See, if you have Photoshop or Procreate, you're gonna see this. Brightness is actually value. The value is actually called brightness in some devices. Or if you have a TV, there's a contrast button on it. Actually, it's talking about value, the amount of light. See, if I put the value down, everything becomes darker. I mean, the objects that I have on this layer. Until it becomes white or becomes black. If we just made the values constant, we played with the saturation, see? Either they become gray, die, they're dead, or they're so full of color and vibrant, saturated. Same goes here. I'm changing the hue. So the point I want to like make you understand here or keep in mind. Let's get back to the example. It's easier to look at it from here. Okay, do you recall this example? These are all colors with a very high saturation. It's almost 100. So it looks like they are shouting, like 100 people are shouting in one room. You don't know who to listen to, right? Everyone is shouting. Everyone is fighting for attention. But it's shouting in an empty room. You can hear him alone shouting. That's how you can play with the saturation and the values and contrast to get your viewer attention to one point on your scene, to play with the viewer. Do you have any question at all about these concepts? I know it's a bit complicated to understand, but if you have any question at all, just come at me. Okay, I suppose you don't. Okay then. Let's have a break for 10 minutes and we can continue. Lighter. If I play with my saturation, I'm talking about the overall saturation of the whole image. Looks oversaturated here. It's rich in color. And now it starts fading and it becomes gray, which has zero color in it. I can also play with my hue, which is the primer color. So that's the power of hue, value, and saturation if you know how to use them. Of course, it needs a lot of practice and experiments. You need to experiment a lot to know what fits to you on your design. What do your audience or viewers prefer? What are you doing? Are you selling a product? Are you promoting a service? Which color should you use? Which brings us to an important aspect of colors. Of which color should we use? I'm switching now to the slides. And it can be used actually on iPad only. But if you have Photoshop, it's better. Okay, you're welcome. So we stopped here. We talked about what colors are made of and how do we construct them digitally. But what are the effects of color? Each color have its own effect. As you can see here. I don't want you to focus on all of the other attributes. Only focus on the first three. They're enough. If you can make use of the first three, that's enough, more than enough actually. Because you're going to be lost if you just keep track of all of them. So just focus on the first three. So blue. Blue conveys trust, smartness, calm, faith. Remember the lone poster? It was in blue, right? So they did a great choice. They chose blue, which is good. They want their customers to trust in them. Red, love, immediacy, energy. Energy is a strong one for lead. Fire is actually red. I'm just gonna put a star on this one because it's really important. Red is a really great source of energy, to convey energy. Black, bold, rich, power, like the Mercedes design. Remember the Mercedes design? Green, soothing, eco-friendly, nature. Nature in general, trees are green. If you want to convey something nature related, you're welcome to choose green. It's the best option. And the best combination for nature and energy is yellow and green, since yellow is also a great source of energy. So as you can see, cheer, attention, childish, fresh. I'll make them four here. Fresh is important as well. Orange, health, attraction. Thirst. Don't you notice that they put the advertisements of orange juice with ice when you're thirsty? It makes all of that go away. They're using orange, the orange color. Pink. Pink is actually a bit of girlish color, so it could be used for a cute design, something calm, something warm, emotional, sensitive. Purple, the royal color, mysterious, arrogant. You notice the design where the woman is actually showing her eyelashes with the straps of the rectangular broken glass. They used purple. If you go back to the design and look at it. So if you look at here, we can use blue perfectly with squares, right? We can use it with the triangles and circles, of course, but the best option for blue here is square, since it actually amplifies its effect. A square is already a symbol of trust, and if you add blue to that, it even amplifies even more. Red, I guess the best option, of course, is a triangle, energy. Black could go with everything, could go with the square, with the circle, and the triangle could go with anything. It depends on what you want to look bold and rich. Green. Green could also go with everything, depends on you. But the highlights are on the blue because they perfectly match the square attributes, and red, they perfectly match, I mean, in terms of energy and cell as well, they perfectly match the triangle. Here could be anything, could be triangle, but mostly triangle are best to show arrogance. I mean, the option is up to you, but you need to weigh your attributes. You don't want to kill the effect, but you want to amplify it. And you don't want to neutralize the effect. So we don't want to neither neutralize or kill the effect. We want to make it stronger. So you should read the effects of each color and the shapes and figure out which one brings a good match or not. Okay, let's continue. Okay, so what are color schemes? Color schemes are actually pre-made palettes that you can put together. For example, you could say like blue and red goes well together. Green and yellow, something like that. But there's actually a general rule that you can follow, so you can like come up with your own color scheme that fits your company or your logo or your designs in general. So the first scheme is called complementary. What does complementary mean? It means that each color is actually complementing the other. Oh, before I go into the schemes, do you have any questions about the psychological effect of colors before I continue with this? If not, okay, let's continue. So we're talking about complementary, or you could say opposites. Each color is opposing the other. If you look at this wheel here, you notice that the orange or the circle here is actually facing the blue on the other side, meaning it's a complementary color. Each color is complementing the other or opposing the other. So they make a good fit. Everyone is making the other bring or pop psychologically. So as example for that, they used here, in this example, they used green and red. You can find this color here. They used, in the example below, they used red and green. See, they're also complementary colors. So the overall effect of them actually helps making the image pop out. But of course, you need to make one of them dominant. I mean, if you have a background, for example, you should make it dark. I mean, blue dark or green dark. We're gonna come to that, but you should always remember this step. Make only one color or one element of high contrast in your image. Don't make the elements fight for contrast and attention. You want the viewer to look only to one place. Get his attention to one place only. If you made a lot of interest points or contrast points, which means many focal points, your viewer is going to be like confused. He's not going to be able to focus on one single point. And you're not going to get your objective done, whatever it is. So that's complementary color. Let's look at another example of it. Look at this drawing. If you notice, this color is orange. This color is blue. Yes, I know there is skin, but what pops in the image, the contrast, of course, you looked at her face, then her hair, right? That's the focal point here. Because of the green, because of the orange, which complements the background, which is blue. Let's go back to the color wheel and look at the colors. It was orange and blue, right? Orange here and blue here. That's why we easily looked at her head and hair first because of that. That's a really good example of complementary colors. Let's look at another scheme. This scheme is called Triadic scheme. Like this. Triadic, not triadic, triadic. Okay, in this scheme, you can actually choose three primary hues, but they are evenly balanced. If you notice, somehow the distance here is not 100% equal, but almost balanced. So we use this if you want to like achieve visual contrast and harmony at the same time. We use complementary color purely for visual contrast because the contrast there is very sharp. But when it comes to the triadic scheme, there is also a harmony involved in it. So we make one color pop. Of course, always in any scheme, we make one color pop, one element that has high contrast. I cannot stress this enough. It's really important. So a really good example of this is here. Of course, you know Burger King. If you analyze their logo, it's actually yellow, red, and blue. You see? It brings good harmony. I mean, the colors don't look off. They look well balanced. They look like each one of them is actually put there to be fit with the other. It looks like complete fit because it's actually a triadic scheme. And dominant color is red. See, they made one dominant color which had to occupy most of the image, and they made it in a bigger text or bigger size, I mean in text, which is the logo. See how big it is? So this color is actually dominant here. Then we have yellow and blue. Blue is the least. So number 1 is red. Number 2 is yellow. Number 3 is blue, and like an order of dominance, which one is more dominant. Of course, you don't want to break your design with like having each color have like the same amount of dominance, which is like having a lot of people like shouting at one room. You don't know who to listen to. Let's look at another example of triadic scheme. Look at this artwork. Seems off. I'm getting back at you. Is it back? Is it back, guys? Okay, good. So look at this artwork here, this design. It's also using a triadic scheme. And the dominance here is in the yellow. As it's shown here. Once you look at it, you look here first. Your eyes get here. Then you drift to this area to look at the red, right? That's the order that this design was built in. They wanted you to look at the yellow first, which is here. And they also used composition. We're going to talk about that in the second session. It's going to be really interesting. I mean, composition really, really breaks things or build them. So we look at this here. Let me put that again. First, we look at the yellow, since it occupies most of the image and it pops out the most. It's the most dominant. Then we drift to the red. Then once we look at these two elements, we look at the image at all. I mean, in general, we start to notice the blue and the fades of the green, which is matching the blue, which is in this area. So you get my point here, right? We're directed toward this place immediately. Okay. Okay, then. Let's look at the analogous scheme. So the analogous scheme is actually like having one side of neighbor colors going together. It's actually more of a harmonious scheme. But of course, one color will dominate. That's a rule in every scheme. One color should dominate. And one will support and one will accent. So they have like order 1, 2, 3. Otherwise, the viewer will be lost. Yeah, it's a great tool to guide the eye with a harmonious effect. So your viewer feels like he's going to levels without even noticing. So the image looks complete. Let me show you an example to explain what I mean. Look at this example here. I mean the first one here, this example. It's actually an advertisement or a website for potato chips. If you notice at the colors here, they're yellow. Look at this color, it's yellow. We have red here and orange at the back. So first you notice this because of the contrast and the triadic effect. Then your eyes go smoothly to this side, which is in high saturation. The upper right corner is in really great saturation, but the value is low. Not that high, I mean, comparing to the logo. That's why the contrast is here. So you look at this here. Once you look at the logo, your eyes move to explore the page, this side. Once you continue this, finishing this half, which is the hot, we have hot colors and cold colors. These are hot. These are cold. So once you go through the hot colors, you go down and you look at this here. You start exploring. But first, your attention was here, then moved like this, then you went down. Let me sketch that for you. So first you look here, then you move like this, then you look at this area here. See, it's easy to guide the eyes of the viewer using Triadic's an analogous scheme. Let's look at another example down there. Look at this example here. This is an artwork. It's also using the analogous scheme. How? Let's see. Here we have cyan, and here we have yellow, and here we have green. So first, they want you to look here, which has the most contrast. It's the most dominant because of the high value. It has high value, high bright. It's bright. I mean, the brightness level is high, and it's saturated to some extent. So first we look at the yellow, then we look here at the green, then we go back to the cyan. So the point of having analogous scheme is actually harmony more than contrast. It's harmony and guiding the eyes with ease. You can guide the eyes of your viewer using triadic scheme as well, but it's more easier and more natural for the viewer to go through the image if you have analogous scheme. However, if you want to have really great and strong contrast, it's recommended to use complementary colors. So guys, do you have any questions about today's session? Up until now. Could be about anything regarding colors and contrast. Okay then, if there are no questions, we're gonna stop here today for this session. And you're, can you hear me, guys?
Yes, we can hear you.
Am I clear? Yeah. Okay, good.
Any
Okay,
assignment?
but let me just answer the question first. There's a question. Which color is dominating? Well, which color is dominating? Any color could be dominating. Oh, you mean in this image here? You mean in this image or in general? In this example?
Orange domain.
Yeah, exactly. In this image, orange, as you said, yeah. But why is orange dominant here? Is it because it's orange? Of course not. It's not because it's orange. Because if you notice, we talked about value. Yeah, contrast. There is high contrast in value here. Remember the value? This color is going to be found here or here because it has a high value. High value, I mean, the contrast is high in terms of value. That's why we look at it first. If I put the value of this element here or this place here down, this is going to be the most interesting part to look at because it's going to have higher value. That's how we look at values and contrast. You have contrast in values, contrast also in saturation, if you remember. So if you play with these two, you can decide which color should be dominating. It's up to you. Any other questions? Okay, then if there are none, I'm going to talk about the assignment. So the assignment for this session or for this class, which is the color theory, is for you guys to find out or to go to the web and search for 4 designs. One with complementary colors, one with triadic scheme color, and one with analogous. And the last design is actually up to you. You can choose whatever you want. But what I want from you after selecting 3 designs and one of your choice is to put your comments on how do you like see if they're like about the schemes. How are the schemes affecting you? How are the schemes affecting the viewer? What are your opinions? And on the last one, which is the 4th, you selected like depending on your own choice. Just write your comments and ideas on why did you select this and how do you find it interesting or fascinating to you. I'm going to put details about this assignment actually in the group so you can refer to that. But if there are any questions further to hear, you're free to ask. Okay then. If there are none, see you in the next session. Have a good night, guys.
Thank you. Good night.
You're welcome.